So it's 7:04 p.m. So I'm going to bring the October 14th meeting of ANC 1A to order. Our meetings generally start with community announcements of more or less 1 minute. What I would say is we usually start with commissioners who may have something to share. I know Commissioner Edmondson has already started, but we can give you some more time back. I will also say this to attendees. If you are attending this meeting and you have something to share, please either raise your hand, or if you've joined us with by phone, hit *9, I believe will indicate to us, and we can elevate you when the commissioners are done. If you're joining us and since we're in campaign season, my guidance has typically been, we don't support active campaigning, but there is nothing wrong with us telling that you are a candidate for office and giving us more information for members of the community who may want to have a follow-up conversation to you, whether it's your website or whatnot. So that's fine. We certainly encourage democracy and people getting to know their candidates better. So with that said, I'll move to commissioners to see if any commissioner has something they'd like to share. Commissioner Edmondson, I know you were sharing earlier. Did you want to continue with that?
I sure would. Hi. I just want to announce that starting on the 26th, which is Monday, I will officially be in the role of the Lower Georgia Avenue Main Street Manager. So I'm joining District Bridges and my Columbia Heights family and my Mount Pleasant family and my U Street family and all those folks. And I'm really looking forward to serving the business community and staying close to the ANC Commission without actually being on the dais. So that's my news. I'm very excited. Thank you.
Congratulations, Commissioner. That is fabulous. Are there other announcements from commissioners? Commissioner Bonneau, I see you have your hand up.
Thanks, Chair. This Sunday is the monthly community cleanup for ANC 1A01 in the northern part, but we would encourage anyone wherever you might live in 1A. We're going to be out starting at 11 a.m. Happy to drop off gloves or bags if you would like to partake in your own part of the neighborhood. Otherwise, we're meeting at the Spring Perry Triangle, and that's the 1400 block of Perry Place Northwest. Thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner. Are there other announcements from commissioners? Commissioner Clock.
Sure, I was at the Move DC introduction yesterday, so we'll just say that everyone has an opportunity to discuss the different transit options for the future, and they have really cool interactive maps. So please do take a chance, if you are able to comment on the plan for transportation for cyclists, pedestrians, and trains and transit buses in the future. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anything from any other commissioner? I see we've just been joined by Commissioner Brown. Do you have anything to announce during community announcements?
Yes, I do. Thank you, Commissioner. Am I unmuted?
You're good. Okay,
great. So I've been collaborating with the Department of Transportation and the ANC 1A Transportation Committee on a virtual meeting and call for residents to provide input to get updates on the protected bike lane installations. That's at the 400 block of Kenyon Street. DDOT will be present, and then we'll briefly present on the Crosstown project from 2015 to present, and they want to hear from the community about their priorities, get feedback on the current bike lane installations, and discuss next steps. So DDOT is really extending this opportunity for residents. So we would really like for you to join, and that meeting will be held on November the 12th at 7 p.m. And we'll share out those details through the newsletter. I'm also aware of a shooting or sounds of gunshots that occurred at the 400 to 600 block of Columbia Road. That occurred on October the 2nd. And MPD did confine the shooting around 12:15 And detectives have received a recording of the video, and it's currently under investigation. There was one victim that was involved. They received non-life-threatening injuries and is expected to recover. I don't know, did folks, just commissioner based, did anybody talk about the mail-in drop-off box locations? I don't want to duplicate information.
You own that.
So just sharing with residents, you may drop off your voted mail-in ballot at any Dropbox location at any time until November the 3rd at 8 p.m. on election day. And Ward 1 Dropbox locations are listed on the Board of Elections website at dcboe.org. And that's it for me.
I voted using the Dropbox at in front of the USADC building. It was great.
I'll be honest, my ballot's still sitting here on my desk, staring at me, asking to be filled out. So, but it will be. Are there any other announcements from commissioners? If not, I guess one thing I will share that I feel is kind of, well, it's fascinating. So as part of the Police Reform Commission, one of the things that we're kind of an opportunity that arose because many of the members had wanted to know more about this is currently I'm attending a 7-part seminar on police stops. And today was session 2, and it's actually a good group of people. There are about, it's not just the members of the Reform Commission that are attending. We have about, I think, 77 people overall attending, and part of the breakout sessions and discussions, and it's including, I'd say, experts from cities across the country, both in police departments and academia and others working in the public safety space. So I think there's a lot of good that's going to come out of it. There's not much I can share beyond that since it's just at the starting phases, but as I get some takeaways, I will definitely be sharing that out. So with that, are there any members of the community that have something they'd like to share at this time? Again, if you're an attendee, if you can either raise your hand or hit *9 on your phone, then we can elevate you to share. I see we have something from Carolina.
Yes, hello, this is Carolina from District Bridges. So first of all, sorry you're losing Teresa, but welcome to the team, Teresa. I'm looking forward to working with you. Just wanted to give a couple of updates about streeteries in Columbia Heights. So as you know, on 11th Street, there's the current Macon and Queens English. The permits have been extended till December 31st of this year, and rumor has it that they're probably gonna go into the spring, depending on how the winter is. The Coop is reopening on Monday. They will also have a streetery. If you haven't gone by Red Rocks, they also have one. And Bad Saint, we just submitted an application for Bad Saint, and we're just waiting on the review from DDOT. Most of the businesses have applied for the winter grant to get their streeteries ready and be able to get some heaters and tents, and that was for $6,000. And some of the businesses have received it. And that's all I have for now. Thank you very much.
Carolina, I have a question for you, if I may, and if other commissioners do as well, this would be a great time. I know that there had been some conversation about the block on Georgia Avenue, let's say between Newton and Otis on the east side.
Yeah.
Is there an update on that?
Yes, I submitted the application on Monday, and yesterday I went to speak to the neighboring businesses to make sure they were okay with it, the barbershop and the Georgia Mart. And they both signed an agreement saying it's okay. So it's just being reviewed by DDOT. I did double check with DDOT to make sure Georgia was eligible. Most likely they will give the cement barriers that there's in other parts of the city. And it might not be as wide as a 10 foot, like to fit a 10 by 10 tent, but it's some tables for Top Spanish and Smitty's would be getting it. And then there's another one in conversation for Sonny's and Doubles as well on Georgia Avenue.
Okay, that's great, because based on that that exchange we had a couple weeks ago, I actually talked to a couple other businesses, and many on Georgia Avenue. I don't think they were aware that Georgia Avenue is eligible. And so maybe there's some outreach that could occur there. And I do know in talking to some businesses, and I was very happy to hear about the overwinter opportunity, because I know some businesses could be interested, but they're not going to put that kind of investment into 2 or 3 months, because it's an investment in tables and chairs and tents, and that's money out of their pocket too.
Yeah.
So a longer return on that investment does make it more attractive.
Yeah, so if you hear of anybody, I mean, I can send out a newsletter to all the businesses in Georgia and let them know if they're interested, they can contact me. But at this point, for them to apply for the $6,000 grant, they actually need the streetery permit to be able to apply for the $6,000. So
Yeah.
I don't think they will be eligible, or if they get anything, they might get a little bit of money at the end, but not the $6,000. But you can send them my way, and then when Teresa starts her position, she'll have a lot to be working on as well.
Okay. And it's good to know somebody. So,
Of course.
yeah. Were there any other questions for Carolina?
Yeah, I have a question. Carolina, this is Teresa. I'm Commissioner Edmondson, pardon me. So were the $6,000, is that part of the resiliency fund money?
No, that's a completely separate grant. It dropped about 2 weeks ago. The guidelines have been updated a few times. It's specifically for streeteries, for the outdoor dining. Any restaurant that has a permit right now to be serving outside is eligible to apply, and they can use the funds for heater, tents, marketing, outdoor furniture, and electricity.
Okay, great. Good to know. Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you. All right. With that, thank you so much, Carolina. I see that Sylvia Garrick has her hand raised as well.
Hello.
Hello, welcome.
Yeah, can you? Okay, it's good evening. Good evening, Chairman Boss, commissioners, and members of the public. And by the way, Teresa, congratulations. Okay, felicidades. Formal case 1162, Washington Gas Light rate increase. Hearing will be held on Tuesday, October the 20th at 2 p.m. Written comments are due on October the 23rd to the Commission Secretary at PSC-Commission Secretary, which is one word, at dc.gov, and CC copy, if you choose, to OPC at info@opc-dc.gov. For those who are unfamiliar with the case, Washington Gas is requesting $35.2 million rate increase. And if approved by the Public Service Commission, it will increase and have a negative impact on consumers' bill in the amount of $13. So the office is requested, please, to request here, put in writing your comments or to testify on the impact that you feel it will have on your constituents or any member of the public that wishes to file their concern regarding this request during the pandemic. To please do not hesitate to do so on October the 20th at 2 p.m. Thank you. I'm not sure if you have any questions for me.
I see one question from Commissioner Ray.
Good evening, and thanks for the update. I hadn't seen, usually your committee puts out a recommendation. Has your committee done that yet?
We do have recommendation. If you want to, I can have OPC send it to you.
Okay.
Would you like to do so?
I mean, is your committee supporting the rate increase, or are you?
No, absolutely not. We don't.
Okay. I
OPC
just want to make sure.
that OPC feel that they should receive, instead of the $35.2 million, that they're requesting only $6 million. And just to mention a few, reason why is that it unfairly shift the business risk of Washington Gas to ratepayers, and also it increased the customer's bill by approximately 17%.
Great. Thank you for the
clarification. Yeah, I'll send you recommendations, okay?
Thank you.
Oh,
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner. Mm-hmm.
Are there any other questions for Ms. Garrick? Seeing none, thank you so much for that update, and thank you for agreeing to share out that information with the commission following.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Chairman Boss.
I do not see any other hands raised in the attendees. So we can move on to committee reports. The first report is Education and Youth Committee, which I believe is Commissioner Miller. Would you mind giving us an update?
Yes, thank you. We met this past month. We reviewed some of the changes in the federal levels of funding, but most importantly, we identified a couple things that our families and residents need, which is more information about some of the things that will be impacting them, not least of which are evictions. And also some issues with health and human services and some of the changes in that through the emergency health, etc. So we will be hosting, in lieu of a meeting in October, a conversation about evictions and what to expect, what rights, and also some of the changing policy issues. We're doing that both in English and in Spanish, so there will actually be 2 separate meetings, and those are included in the agenda. And of course, more information can be directed to me.
All right. Thank you for doing that. That's important work. So I appreciate you focusing on that. Moving on to Public Safety Commission, Commissioner Bonneau, or committee.
Thanks so much. So last month we started a conversation looking at the newly formed Police Reform Commission and had a conversation with Commission member Ron Hampton, a retired police officer with an esteemed career here in the city. And he was able to give us an overview kind of the purpose of the commission, the committee framework, and opportunities to engage as members of the public as well as commissioners. We're going to continue that conversation at our October Public Safety Committee meeting. We've invited Commissioner Bass and a few other commission members to engage with us on that conversation. We know recommendations are due at the end of the calendar year, but that timeline may be extended. And so we're really trying to just stay abreast of that process and opportunities to provide feedback or community input prior to that final submission. So that October meeting is going to be Thursday, October 29th at 7 p.m.
Thank you for that. Moving on to Transportation Committee, Commissioner Rybarczyk.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for being here tonight. Just wanted to share briefly, as Commissioner Brown already shared, we will have a special community meeting with DDOT on the Crosstown project focused on the north-south portions of the project on Thursday, November 12th, and you'll be seeing plenty of flyers and electronic notifications about that. We will have our regularly scheduled committee meeting on Tuesday, October 27th. And for that, DDOT will have someone in attendance, I believe Springworth, project manager for the 16th Street bus project, to come and share updates. They have finalized plans for that project, and they'll be sharing how it affects our commission boundaries. And as Commissioner Clark also shared, I was also on the Move DC introductory call yesterday. I will be reaching out to folks on our committee to work on submitting comments as part of the Move DC program. There are multiple ways to do this. The commission will be able to submit written testimony. The first portion of this Move DC project was concerned it was being rushed. It's going to sort of extend over the next year. This portion's just focused on the broader policy goals. So I'll be sharing more information. I know a few folks reach out to be added to the Transportation Committee list. I'm happy to add whoever else would like to be. Just reach out to me at 1A03@anc.dc.gov. So thank you all very much.
Thank you, Commissioner Rybarczyk. And wrapping up with committees, Zoning, Parks, and Planning, Commissioner Ray.
Good evening again. So we have 3 basic cases to review this month. 503 Park Road, which is a conversion of a single-family home into 3 units. The committee voted to support that, and we will hear about it tonight to do a final vote. And then an application by Scott Jacobs at, sorry, I can't quite see my full screen, at 3578 13th Street. They are adding a garage alley, I'm sorry, garage alley, an alley garage with a unit on top. And the committee voted to support that as well. And then we did discuss the All Souls Historic Preservation case and had no issues or comment on that one. So I know we're going to talk about all 3 tonight. Hopefully we can move them very quickly. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Moving into presentations, we have 2 standing presentations. The first is from Allie Bobak, from Constituent Services Coordinator from Councilmember Nadeau's office. I see Allie's with us. Fantastic. Welcome, Allie.
Hi, can you all hear me?
Absolutely.
Thank you. So my name is Allie Bobak. As Commissioner Bo said, I am the Constituent Services Coordinator for Councilmember Nadeau. My direct line is 202-531-5186, and my email is abobak@dccouncil.us. Commissioner Edmondson, congratulations. I'm already racking my brain of all the things that I'm going to start working on with you on right when you get into the role. So anyway, official announcements. As you all are probably aware, the council is back for the fall legislation session, and we are having our legislative meetings and hearings virtually as we did in the spring. You can find the calendar on the DC Council website. One thing to kind of keep an eye out for is the CFO announced the district's updated revenue estimates for fiscal year 2021, I think earlier last week. So that's something that the council is going to be working on with the mayor to take another look at the fiscal year 2021 budget and see what cuts will be needed to be made. The other legislative piece that you all might be interested in is that there's going to be an education hearing on reopening on October 23rd at 3 p.m. with government witnesses only. The council member will be attending as she had joined some of her colleagues on sending a letter to the mayor on September 23rd asking for details around around how to prepare to safely reopen schools. So again, that is going to be on October 23rd. Of course, Commissioner Brown mentioned that everybody needs to vote. If anyone's having issues getting in touch with the DC Board of Elections, again, feel free to reach out to me and we can try to assist. Let's see, sorry, I have quite a few announcements today, so I'm trying to find the ones that seem to be the most relevant for this ANC. One is that you all will be seeing in your inbox pretty soon an email from our staff. As many of you know, in 2017, Councilmember Nadeau introduced the Public Restroom Facilities Installation and Promotion Act of 2017, which was funded in the fiscal year 20 budget. So they're going to be passing around a survey basically asking for locations for the first 2 public restrooms. So it would be great if people such as yourselves can fill those out as you have a strong understanding of the needs of different parts of the community. And again, that email will be coming from us fairly soon. Again, my name is Allie Bobak. My direct number is 202-531-5186. My email is abobak@dccouncil.us, and I'm here to answer any questions.
Are there any questions for Ms. Bobak? Are there any questions for Ms. Bobak from attendees? If you have you can raise your hand or hit *9. Seeing none, thank you so much for the update, and hopefully we will see you soon and not in another month.
Thank you. Talk soon.
For all the right reasons, by the way.
Yes, of course, always.
Okay, next we will move to the Cynthia to the Ward 1 liaison for the Mayor's Office of Community Relations, Ms. Cynthia Turcos. Cynthia, I see you're on. Fantastic.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Absolutely.
Perfect. Well, good evening, everyone. My name is Cynthia Turcos. I'm from the Mayor's Office. I'm the Ward 1 Outreach Specialist, and my email address is my first name, Cynthia, CYNTHIA, dot my last name, TURCIOS @dc.gov, or my phone number is 202-553-8032. Feel free to reach out either way, if you prefer email or phone call. I have a few updates today, but just to let you all know, for those that might be joining the call and haven't heard from me before, my role is to connect people to various government services as needed, and work through any ongoing 311 issues, any community concerns, and help in any way I can. But I want to go ahead and talk about something that will actually end in a few hours. So the 2020 census has extended its deadline to tonight. I know originally it was for the end of September. So if you're on the call, you haven't filled out the census, or perhaps check in on your neighbor, please, I encourage you all to let everyone you know to please fill out the census. There are 3 ways to get it done and get your family counted. You can do it online at 2020census.gov. You can call 1-844-33-02020, or you can complete it by mail at no cost to you. By the end of September, 15,000 DC residents have not been counted. If those 15,000 continue to not be counted, that equals roughly $1.3 billion that have been lost in federal aid. So we do recommend and we do urge everyone to please fill out the census. And I have a few COVID-19 updates. So last week, Mayor Bowser issued a mayor's order extending the district's public emergency and public health emergency through December 31st, 2020. After that, the current issue and the current posture will be assessed to see if there's a need to extend. To review the latest mayor's order and for the most up-to-date information, please go ahead and visit coronavirus.dc.gov, where you'll get a comprehensive list and information on what's going on with the COVID-19 testing data, and the current operating status for various government agencies. I know it was mentioned previously as well from the District Bridges Main Street, but I want to go ahead and reiterate that last week, Mayor Bowser launched the new Small Business Resiliency Fund to provide $3 million in emergency operational funding for small and local businesses located in the district. This fund will be housed in the Office of the Deputy Mayor for Planning and Economic Development, and the grant will allow businesses to obtain up to $10,000. So I encourage any business owners that are on the call to please apply for this. The deadline is October 15th, so that's tomorrow at midnight. Also, there are some changes to leaf season this year. Leaf collection starts November 9th, and this year, to keep everyone safe, including the hardworking individuals at DPW, the changes are residents that receive DPW trash and recycling services will be serviced specific bags from DPW, and I'm happy to share the details of when those bags will be distributed to the commissioners as the timeline approaches, but the bag distribution will begin on October 20th, and each household will receive 20 paper bags. So I'm happy to share the details as that date approaches, but just keep in mind each household will receive 20 paper bags. And then for more information, please continue to visit dpw.dc.gov. Also, on coronavirus.dc.gov, there is some Halloween guidance on there on best practices for trick-or-treating this year, or how to practice Halloween festivities safely and with social distance in mind, considering we're still in a public health pandemic. And flu shots are still being given at various testing sites at Judiciary Square. They are being offered Monday through Friday until the end of October from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. No pre-registration is required. They just need you to bring your state ID, or your district ID in this case, because we're not a state yet, and your insurance card. And that's it on my end. Please let me know if you all have any questions. Again, my name is Cynthia Turcos, and you can reach me at 202-553-8032. I'm sorry if that was a bit long.
Yeah, I see we have a question from Commissioner Miller and then Bonneau. So,
And then
Yeah.
Wade.
and then
No,
Dye.
I really appreciate that DPW is handing out 20 bags per house for leaf collection. I know that we had 3 bags of leaves collected out in our trash that were left after the collection. I'm wondering, will they be picking up these leaves and these bags separate from our trash? How is that going to work? Because right now we can't even get them to pick up our trash. Then when we have separate bags outside of our bins, they don't pick those up. So I'm curious, are they actually going to pick up separate bags from the trash when they're outside of the bins? Because right now they are very not doing that.
I know that I'm having an actual training with DPW on this to get more information later on next week. So I'm happy to share those details as they will probably answer those questions. And if they don't, I'll raise that point up just to make sure they're being left near their trash recycling bins correctly. So I'll get back to you with that answer.
Okay, so we have a lot of residents who have overflowing bins because of the situation, which we have a resolution for. And when trash is left to the side, it's not collected. So just, we need to be clear if we're also being given additional bags that they plan to pick those up.
For sure. I'll follow up on that for you and then just share it with the entire ANC.
Thank you. Commissioner Bonneau and then Commissioner Love-Wade.
Thank you, and thank you, Cynthia. I just want to confirm, I think I heard you say that new census deadline is tonight at midnight, but I believe it's tomorrow, October 15th at midnight. Could you confirm?
I'm seeing October 14th on my end at midnight, but I'm happy to double check that.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd say please do, because I think I saw something earlier today too, that the Supreme Court weighed in and it was the 15th. So people should dig into that and figure out what the deadline is. Commissioner Love-Wade, you're on.
Yes, thank you. Hi, Cynthia. I think it's great about the 20 bags being left for each home. However, we have a number of seniors in my neighborhood who will not be able to physically go out and collect in bags of leaves. Have any arrangements been made for assistance to seniors who are living in their homes but cannot do leaf collection?
I'll raise that point up with GPW to see what their plans are for our senior neighbors, and then I'll share that with you all as well.
Okay, and could you give me a call, Cynthia, as soon as you have that information? You know, I do have quite a few seniors on my block.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you.
And just to make sure that your phone call with DPW is productive as possible, I have an additional leaf collection question for you. So you mentioned 20 bags per household. That sounds like a lot of bags to me, but I guess that's a good thing. But what about apartment buildings or buildings that aren't single family homes? I know we have a lot of those in Columbia Heights, not so much on my end, but we do have homes that were traditionally single family homes that have now been converted into 2, 3, or 4 units. What's the plan for those properties?
So if they are serviced by DPW, I know that some multi-unit buildings that have 2 or 3 units, I don't know if they're condos or apartments, depending on what they're labeled in Columbia Heights. If they're serviced by DPW, they will be getting the bags, but the typical apartment buildings that are serviced by private trash companies will not.
Okay, I understand that logic, but that's also a gap, because when when leaf collection traditionally happens, it's the entire street that's serviced, not addresses that may or may not be serviced by DPW. So that's a gap. There needs to be something for that.
Oh, right. And also the pickup of those leaves for, like he was saying, for multi-family dwellings, how they are impacted, and what kind of system. Are they going to have any written instructions that when they drop the bags off, or what to do with your bags, instructions to the residents, or are they just going to drop bags off and you go for yourself? I mean, what's the process? I think it's a good idea, but I think there's a lot of holes in this implementation.
For sure. I'll share all those details as soon as I get them later on next week, and I'll send you all an email with the updates and the questions answered.
Well, this should be addressed, Cynthia, citywide. It won't affect just our ANC and just Ward 1. These issues are going to be cropping up all over the city. So DPW really needs to get their act together and don't have to just when they send a proposal out. And that goes to the mayor's office as well, because it's all it does is confuse residents. I know if I see 20 trash bags on my front porch, I'm going to ask, what the heck do they think I'm going to do with this? You know, and then you're going to have a whole bunch of trash bags just stacked up and leaves still out in the street. So that's what I'm asking.
Okay, so Cynthia, I think I heard you say that you're going to get all these answers and then come back to us. And I believe I heard Commissioner LaVoyd say that, well, that's great. Those questions are going to be citywide questions. So that there needs to be better dissemination of that knowledge citywide.
For sure. And I know all MOKers are attending this meeting next week, and they'll share that information as they see fit with all their community members as well. But I do appreciate that feedback, and we'll be sure to share that with DPW too, to make sure they're reaching out to people who may not be on social media as well.
Okay, are there any other questions for Ms. Turcos from commissioners?
Yes.
Commissioner Rybarczyk. Okay, let's go Rybarczyk, then Edmondson.
Okay. Real briefly, I just saw there's a Q&A, similar question, how are residents being informed of these answers? I am happy to make sure to include that in our ANC newsletter. So please subscribe on our website if you're not already. If there are social media posts, we can also reshare those. And I did find the letter from the DC Census 2020 Executive Director, who confirmed that the census closes tomorrow night at 11:59 Hawaiian Standard Time if you're submitting online, which means you have technically until 6 a.m. Eastern Daylight Savings Time. So just get it done tomorrow before midnight to be safe.
I also just wanted to add about the leaf collection, that homes that are serviced by DPW will receive a brochure mailed to them to outline the schedule and the overview of the leaf collection program for the season.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Edmondson, I believe you had a question.
I did, and please, I apologize for not being able to use the chat function. I'm on a mobile. So Cynthia, I walked around the neighborhood, and I don't know if any other commissioners noticed this, but who is responsible? What agency is responsible for picking up the trimmings from the trees on the sidewalk, the public trees? I mean, there are piles all over my SMD of just big piles of small branches and ginkgo fruit, and they're at least a week old. I checked yesterday. And who is responsible? Is that DPW as well?
DDOT would be responsible. It would be the Urban Forestry Department that they're under, and I'm happy to walk by the area tomorrow to create those individual service requests in your SMD. And if there are other areas that you all know of, I'm happy to go ahead and make those requests as well.
Okay, I'll be in touch with you because I have pictures. Of course, I took pictures. They're just laying there, and they did the job, and then they just left they didn't clean up. So, yeah.
Well, I'll interject a little bit there too, that it's possible that the city didn't do the work and some well-meaning neighbor did the work for the city, and that's why the city doesn't know to pick it up, because that happened to me maybe 3 weeks ago where someone just decided to limb up all the trees on Rock Creek Church around the soldiers' home. It wasn't done properly, and I had to get DDOT out to do it properly and pick up all the branches that were just left. So that's just the way of saying DDOT may not even be aware of it. So thank you for bringing it up, and Cynthia, thank you for making that connection with DDOT.
Okay,
Of
thanks.
course.
I see one. Okay. Were there any other questions?
Ken, I just want to be clear because I don't want there to be any confusion. But as far as sidewalks are concerned, and I know with Monroe we have a high number of ginkgo trees. We love our ginkgos in the fall for like 5 minutes until the berries drop. But DDOT is not responsible for clearing the sidewalks of that deluge of fruit. That's really and whether or not they are, I do think that there's a certain obligation by neighbors to also take ownership for making sure that those are constantly swept. So yes, if DDOT is responsible, let's call it in, but let's not wait for DDOT to come and sweep our ginkgo berries, because it's a daily chore. And I know that many neighbors have taken on that task, and for that, I thank them. I did actually buy a broom, so I'll be joining you in the sweeping. But yeah, so I guess delegating responsibility to DDOT doesn't actually fix the issue of these sorts of problems.
Yeah.
Can I say a word on behalf of ginkgo trees? The male trees are beautiful, and I live on a street that has almost all male trees. And in the fall, they're beautiful. They don't produce berries; they produce like these little coily things. You know, I've been on the street now, I don't know, 11 years or so, and it used to be that someone, and I don't think it was DDOT, sprayed the few females that are on this street. And Commissioner Bonneau, you might know. You might have more information on this, so that they produce less berries. But it seems to me like that spraying has sort of stopped, or at least been dialed back. Does anyone know anything about that?
I don't know about that much, Matt, but I do know at one point the residents could request to have the female ginkgo tree removed and the male replacing it, because the original order for the ginkgos were to be male only, no females. But of course, they did get some females into it. And because of that problem, I know over in Detroit Park, they had a number of the female ginkgo trees removed. So if it's a real big problem, I think the DC Forestry Office will assist the neighborhood if there are a lot of the females, because they really think of your house and your neighborhood.
So also to be clear, so again, on a street that is predominantly ginkgo, and to Commissioner Love Wade's point, they were trying to do all male, and we have big yellow dots of the female trees that are supposed to be sprayed every year. But our trees are also very high, so they only get a certain amount of them. So they're not going to kill all the berries. And I mean, if spraying makes a difference, I'd hate to see what not spraying looks like. So yeah, I mean, regardless of whether or not they spray, we got berries, we've got trash, we've got things that need to be swept. I would hope that we wouldn't wait for DDOT based on some of just you know.
I'll just add quickly that the ginkgo trees can also change sex. So even if you plant males, they can become female later. So unfortunately, that's what we've seen where they're not in the initial markings to be sprayed to begin with. You have to check, I want to say it's like 6 or 9 months before the bloom is like when they have to be sprayed for it to actually be effective for the season. And so that is like a process that I know I checked last year, but it doesn't seem to be consistent.
Okay. Hi, I wanted to.
Interesting.
Commissioner Edmondson again. Right, just my original point though, with the asking I'm asking about the tree boxes, in particular the ones that are on public space on sidewalks. It's a separate issue with bundles of branches that have been trimmed. The trees have been trimmed. So I just mentioned that one pile had some ginkgo, had some some of the whatever they're called, blooms on it. But I'm speaking specifically about bundles of branches that have been trees that have been trimmed in the public tree boxes and just left there. So that's what I need to get up on and at the end of Newton. If you go down by the fire station, you'll see it. It's a pile. It's a pile as big as almost as a small Christmas tree. So, thank you.
Yep, thank you for bringing that back. Are there any other questions for Ms. Turcos? I see one hand raised in the attendees. We could allow them to ask their question.
Yes, good evening. My name is Carolyn Matthews, and I think one thing that you all haven't factored with regards to the leaf picks up, we have a lot of condominiums in our neighborhoods. So who's going to be responsible for that? I don't think DDOT thought about that because they don't shovel the snow when we have the snow. So what makes you think that they're going to rake the leaves up and put them in the bags? It doesn't make sense to me why they cannot do leaf collection. The way that I've observed it in the past, I don't see the men clustering because they're too busy raking the leaves, getting the leaves up. They're distances apart. So that's something that you're going to have to think about, aside from the seniors that are not going to go out there and do it at all. What about the ones that are living in the condominiums or the townhouses or the roomers? We have rooming houses up here also. So that's something else that DDOT needs to address. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Matthews. Always good to hear from you.
Thank you.
So, Cynthia, if you can that goes back to if you can get us more details from DPW on the leaf collection when you have it, please share it with us so that we can help get that information out to members of the community. Because they're going, as this small little conversation has proven, there are going to be a lot of questions when you've changed a process like this.
For sure. I'll definitely get back to you. And it was great hearing from you, Ms. Matthews.
Okay, I don't believe I see any other hands raised, so we can move to administrative matters. Thank you so much, Cynthia. We look forward to getting those updates from you. All right, going into administrative matters, Commissioner Rybarczyk, do you want to take the roll call tonight?
Yep. Commissioner Bonneau.
Present.
Commissioner Edmondson.
Present.
Commissioner Rybarczyk here. Commissioner Goldschmidt.
Here.
Commissioner Miller.
Here.
Commissioner Castagnon is not here. Commissioner Baith.
Me? Yes, I'm here.
Commissioner Brown.
Present.
Commissioner Love Wade.
Present.
Commissioner Clock.
Present.
and
You skipped
1A07.
that.
Yeah,
Oh,
you
and
jumped over Commissioner Ray.
oh my, and
Okay.
Commissioner Ray. Apologies.
Okay.
We have quorum, given that 1A07 is vacant.
Thank you, Commissioner Rybarczyk. Now we'll move on to approval of the agenda. Commissioners, if you could review the agenda that was distributed earlier tonight. This is the opportunity to let us know if there's anything that needs to be moved, added, amended from that agenda. If it's possible to make the image larger for those looking at the agenda on the screen, that would be helpful. I don't know if it's possible. Okay, a little better. So I'd leave it at the top for a moment and then move it down to the bottom. Thank you.
One thing I do want to re-add, this was on an earlier version of the agenda, and I apologize, I, for some reason, deleted it. A letter to DPW from ANC 1A regarding trash and recycling collection during COVID-19 to official business.
Okay, to official business, not the consent agenda.
Unless Commissioner Miller feels otherwise.
I mean, Commissioner Rybarczyk, I mean, I think everybody has seen it. Commissioner Bonneau, I do want to let you know I did add your recommendation on acknowledging that our DPW workers are essential workers and that we do want to thank them for their service. And really the issue is about DPW's administration creating increase in their service. That was added.
Okay. I'm comfortable with it being added to either the consent or the official business. I don't have a strong feeling one way or the other. It's up to the other commissioners. Like I said, I know everyone has seen it.
I suggest consent.
It's fine by me.
Okay, so we will add that to the consent agenda. Are there any other amendments, additions, deletions?
I move that we accept the agenda as modified.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? The agenda is approved. We will now move on to the consent agenda, which has approval of the prior minutes for the September 2020 and October 2020 special meeting, reimbursement of ANC communication expenses, which is the monthly Zoom webinar license for October 2020, letter of support for the Historic Preservation Office nomination of All Souls Church Unitarian at 1500 Harvard Street, grant request in the amount of $2,000 to Columbia Heights Village to provide humanitarian relief, including food or supplies during the public health emergency.
Commissioner Bass, I do want to clarify that that item is only on the consent agenda again, just as an administrative matter, based on the recommendation of the Office of ANC regarding our special meeting status.
Yes.
So just so everyone knows.
Yeah, thanks for pointing that out. This was the subject of our special meeting, so there was already public discussion and a vote. This is just to make sure that we are in compliance. The next item is approval of the FY20 quarter 3 and FY20 quarter 4 quarterly financial reports. Next item is amendment to the FY20 quarter 2 financial report. Next item is authorizing Commissioner Miller to submit ANC 1A approved letter to Deputy Mayor of Education regarding learning hubs and testimony on behalf of ANC 1A for the Committee on Education and the Committee of the Whole. We'll hold a public oversight hearing on the following matter: the distance learning in DC public and public charter schools. And lastly, the letter to DPW regarding the trash collection that we just discussed and added to the agenda. Is there a motion to accept the consent agenda?
I move to accept the consent agenda.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor of accepting the consent agenda, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? The consent agenda passes. Moving on to official business. The first item is the resolution regarding the Park Morton Equity Plan. I don't know if Commissioner Ray or Commissioner Love-Wade was introducing this.
Well, I'll kick it off. So if you've been following along for the last several months, we've been working with the Park Morton and their equity plan. We had a Q&A in the last couple of weeks where commissioners had an opportunity to speak with them and the development team and ask their questions. So we developed what I hope is a consensus document. I do, however, see that Commissioner Wade had a concern that I was unaware of before I sent the latest draft, so I'll let her talk to that. But I do thank everyone for the efforts that have gone into this so far, and we'll see where we lie. But I'll leave it to Commissioner Wade to explain what her concern is.
Okay, I'm trying. Oh, I'm back. I'm on my phone, so I was going back from the phone to the agenda to the document. So, yes, we've worked very hard on developing a resolution that supports the Park Morton redevelopment plan. However, on one issue on our proposed resolution, I can't get to the document immediately, but it had to do with our support of the PMEP, and I just wanted to object to that part of the resolution and request that that section be removed because that was not something that we had agreed to in any of our meetings. It was added today, and did any of you have?
Dom, can you just shift to the second page? Because I'll read out the section so that we can. No, you made it go away. Okay, here. Okay, I think the section that Commissioner Wade is referring to that we can obviously discuss reads, "Be it resolved, ANC 1A supports the goals and objectives of the Park Morton Equity Plan. Wherever possible, ANC 1A encourages the district government to support the residents of the Park Morton in achieving these goals and objectives." And that, yes, was added probably about an hour or two before the meeting. So we can discuss.
Well, my reasoning for not supporting that portion of the resolution is because, as we discussed, there were many issues within that PMEP document that were not accurate, that were not within the area of our ANC responsibility, areas that we had no authority over, and areas that were of historic unimportance. And so because of that, I would like to have that section deleted from our proposed resolution.
Does anyone else have a comment?
I will comment on that. And Commissioner Love-Wade, I absolutely hear you, and I certainly understand where that's coming from. And I want to I added that last minute. So again, when we introduced the resolution, once it was circulated, we did get some community feedback. But to be fair, I don't think that this really is beyond the scope of what Commissioner Ray has already iterated. I think that he has done a great job of really pointing out the key principles and presenting an overture of what we can support, to your point, Commissioner Love-Wade, and especially really highlighting and lifting up the Park Morton Equity Plan. I think the points that you're making about everything and the nuances and details in that plan are not something that we can move forward in its entirety. But again, I just want to point out that I think the overarching premise is to move the conversation forward. Again, I think Commissioner Ray did a great job. I know Commissioner Love-Wade, you also really worked to do that. So this paragraph, or excuse me, this 2 sentences was really about the goals and objectives and not about the nuances. And, you know, just from where I was coming from, and also based on conversations with community members, it was just about saying we identified those goals and those objectives, but we're, again, to your point, there are issues that we as a committee, beyond our purview. So
Commissioner Miller, my recommendation would be that we support the goals and objectives of the residents of Park Morton, not of the plan, but of the residents of Park Morton. That plan gives me sticks in my craw because just the plan, the way it was written and presented, and fostered upon us, fostered upon us, and something you must do, even though it's not within our realm of responsibility or authority. Because it's very important that people especially people who have served as ANC commissioners, to know what
Commissioner Love-Wade, 1 second, you're breaking up a little bit.
Oh, okay. Well, that's it, pretty much, if we could remove that part and change the language to the residents of Park Morton, which
Okay.
I totally support.
Commissioner Love-Wade, can I ask you, would supporting the goals and objectives as the residents of Park Morton lay out?
Of the residents of Park Morton. You don't have to put any, we don't need to elucidate anything further. We support the goals and objectives of the residents of Park Morton, not that plan.
So really, we could just say ANC 1A encourages the district government to support the residents of Park Morton in achieving their goals and objectives.
Yes, I can go behind that.
Okay, cool.
Okay, this is Commissioner Edmondson, and when you do that, that makes it very different. When you take out, it supports the goals and objectives of the Park Morton Equity Plan, and then make it, you know, ambiguous, like we support the residents. The whole point of the residents is their Park Morton Equity Plan. And I understand what you're saying. It's funny because I saw this and I thought, wow, that is the one sentence, the one paragraph that I was like, okay, well done, you know. And now, because it's specific, it's saying we support the goals and objectives of the Park Morton Equity Plan. Now, we can support it, but once they get in there and you know, sell it or try to move their Park Morton Equity Plan, you know, that's whether the residents are successful in getting what they want, that's on them. That's negotiations. In negotiations, you know, this is what they're bringing. They like their the Park Morton Equity Plan. They're bringing it to the table. Whether or not they get everything they want, or if it's even feasible, some of the stuff that's in it, that's not on us.
Yeah.
Commissioner Edmondson, we've had this discussion. Unfortunately, you were not a part of the 5 or 6 meetings that we've held on this issue, the numerous discussions we've had, the many rewrites we've had of the resolution. This is very serious because if we support the document, what's in that document is what we're saying we support. And I'm not putting my name to a number of those issues in that document, and the number of inaccuracies in that document, and the number of assertions that were made that were incorrect that were in that document. As a former director of a government agency, I know the importance of words and attachments to documents, which become a part of the official document. They didn't take that document and hold it up to say, yes, but the ANC said they supported X, Y, and Z, even though we were clear that that was not the part we supported. So you have to support the whole thing or none of the things. That is why we wrote a resolution. We did not accept the resolution that they wrote because it was inconsistent with what the Advisory Neighborhood Commission has to do in support of the entire community. Not just one segment of the community, the entire community, and we must foster an unbiased position. As much as I love much of what's in that equity plan, there's so much in it that I don't like, that I cannot support that plan. And so to support the residents in their planning, I have no problem with, but I'm not supporting that plan. That is an official document that has been circulated and presented throughout this area and throughout our local government. I refuse to affix my signature to that. So if that part stays in our resolution, I will be one not supporting the resolution. And that's my only position.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner Love-White. I have a question. Because I'm trying to sort. I wish I had a sorting hat. Is it possible to support goals, objectives, perhaps a different word on what the equity plan is hoping to achieve, and if so, does that necessarily support some of the specifics in the plan that are unsupportable or that are problems yet to be solved? That's what I'm trying to suss out. Like, I know that there are specifics within the plan that are problematic. Maybe they can be solved, maybe they can't, but we don't have those answers yet. But I think at the very highest level, I think, at least for me, there are things I do support. Like, I do support a co-op. I'm not married to how it's been proposed that it be achieved, but I am definitely committed to making sure that that can be achieved. And so, is it possible to support the overarching outcomes that are desired, even if that becomes the question? Like, is it possible to support the outcomes even if how they're outlined in the equity plan aren't the goal that gets us there?
No, Ken, and the reason I say no is because if you look at our resolution, we clearly identify that we support those items within that plan that we felt were within our area of responsibility and authority and that we could support as a commission. The housing, the return process, the cooperative housing. We outlined all of those things in their plan that were within our purview. This is not a resolution that we just concocted. We looked at what they wanted. We looked at what we thought was feasible for the ANC to do and to support. And we eliminated those things that were contrary to what we could do or felt that we could comfortably support. So to say that we support the plan, don't support the plan isn't accurate, because if you look at our resolution, we identified those things that they were asking for, that we could support, that we could legitimately support. But if we accept the plan, or any portion, say we support that plan, we're married to the whole plan. That's like saying, I'm going to marry you, Daddy, but I'm not taking on your 4 children, your 4 mile of children. Well, that's a part of the package. So I can't divorce myself from the children.
Well, Dottie, isn't saying we support the goals and objectives of the plan, that's really not saying we support the plan. We're saying we support the goals and the objectives. You see what I'm saying? So
No,
I think the language, I think the
that's
language.
very semantic.
Yeah.
That's extremely semantic. But, well, I'm just wondering.
Yeah. Let's.
Right. We didn't say we support the plan. We said we support the goals and the objectives of the plan.
Well, and then to me, when it furthers on, whenever possible, like that's a recognition that there may be details that we find out are not possible, but we're encouraging the district government to provide support when possible. So, I mean, I think that's as strong as we can be, while recognizing that are still details yet to be worked out that may not come to fruition. But let's we can continue the discussion on this paragraph as we go through this, but I don't want us to get so caught up in this paragraph that we don't discuss the rest of the document as well, or get to a point where we're not having a meaningful conversation with members of the community. So, well, let's just put a pin in that one for now and move on. I will say one thing that I think is just a clerical error that needs to be cleaned up. I noticed in the further be it resolved following that paragraph, there's at locations of their choosing, which has been crossed out, but it has not been eliminated from the draft. So that needs to be cleaned up.
Correct. That should be stricken.
Yep.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to add another clerical thing that I saw. So if you scroll further down into the resolution where it talks about the quorum of our public meeting, it just needs to include today's date if we decide to vote on it today.
Oh.
The 14th and not the 13th.
Yeah. Fair point.
The auto adjust probably did that to me.
Are there other commissioners who would like to speak on behalf of this draft at this time? Okay, if not, why don't we hear from, I see Ms. High has her hand raised. Let's bring her on so that we can hear from her. Ms. High, welcome.
Hi, thank you, Commissioners. Oh, sorry.
You're perfect now.
Sorry. Did I take the feedback off?
Yes. Yeah, you're great. You're awesome.
Can you hear me okay?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, perfect.
Okay. I just had a question for Ms. Love Wade because she was very adamant about that one paragraph, and I felt like, you know, with all of the things that have been going on with Park Morton residents, to finally get some support from my ANC commissioning, from the ANC commissioners, I want to know why is she hung up on this one particular paragraph, and if she felt so strongly about that, then why don't she just step aside and let the rest of the commissioners vote, if I'm not mistaken?
Because that is not how our commission operates, Ms. Sean. That is not how we operate. We are a authorized, legitimate government agency. We operate under the Robert's Rules of Law. So for me
and
to
so
step
does
back,
the President Council. We operate under the Robert's Rules of Law as well.
Hold it.
I wasn't finished with my question, Ms. Wade, and you cut me
you
off.
asked me
So
a
by
question.
all means, have the floor, please, Ms. Wade.
Oh, well, hold it. We're going to go. Let's clear the floor and restart this. Let's have Ms. High finish her question, and then when you're done, Ms. Wade, you can, or Commissioner Wade, you can answer the question, but let's please not talk over each other because it's not going to be helpful.
No, thank you, Mr. Bass. You can carry on. Thank you.
No, you weren't finished with your question, please.
I'll refrain from asking my question. Because I just want to move forward. Thank you very much.
I would like to answer the question that Ms. Hyde asked me, but I also would like to ask that I not be yelled at and I not be disrespected. I have done nothing to you personally. I have a right to disagree, so I don't want the tone of voice or the attitude that you display towards me again. I'm a professional, and so I want to be treated in that manner. Now, I have an answer to your question, and as I said, I'm not required to step back. I am, in fact, elected to speak. You are being given the courtesy of speaking. So let's understand what the process is first. And then I will always try to respect and answer you as accurately as I can. I have made it clear from the day that I received your PMEP that I had serious concerns, and I outlined those concerns to you, but they were not consistent with what you wanted. So I'm not stepping back. I'm doing my just elected duty to represent and to interpret the law as I understand it to be. And I am still as adamant as I was before that because of the way that document was written, I cannot support it as a legitimate attachment to an official document that I am going to sign under oath, that I'm going to vote for, because I know specifically that you will take some of those things and go back and say, well, the ANC supported it, even though we did not support that particular part of it, which is why you can't support a part of a document. You have to support the entire thing or not support the entire thing. Because I would never want to be in a position where someone would come back to me and say, well, you said you supported it. And I knew it was incorrect from the beginning. So no, I will not be supporting the PMEP, and I will not be supporting a resolution that has the PMEP specifically listed as us supporting it. That language that was inserted in the document today, after we've already had 5 meetings on the subject, is not a responsible response as far as I'm concerned. It does not help the position of the Park Morton residents. This is not about the Park Morton residents now. It seems to be more about the document and the plan. Well, the plan was not accepted by the city. It was not accepted by our council member's office. It was not accepted by DCHA. It's not being accepted by me. It's not because we don't like the people of Park Morton. We don't like the contents of the plan. I don't like the contents of the plan. I can only speak for me. So no, Ms. Hyde, I will not be stepping back. I will stay vocal. I have a no vote as well as a yes vote. My other commissioners, they may vote yes, but I will not vote because somebody tells me to vote that way, put up or shut up or step back. That's not a way to talk to a person who has your best interest at heart. I've never said a cruel word to you. I've never denigrated any work that you have tried to do. I've been supportive of the work before you ever came to the development, before you ever came to the table. I was out there working with Councilmember Graham, with Frank Smith, Councilmember Frank Smith before Councilmember Graham. Park Morton is not new to this community, and it's not new to me. So I still reserve the right to say to my commissioners and to the public that listens that that document is not a document that should be included in an official resolution that we are presenting to the city government and that we're putting our signatures behind, that we support all conditions. You said wherever possible. Who determines where possible? See, that's more ambiguous than anything else. So I'm through, and
Thank you.
my position is clear.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Love-Wade. Are there any other questions for Ms. High? Ms. High, do you have any more questions for other commissioners?
Thank you, Commissioner Bass. I just want to, again, thank you all for taking time to meet about the Part 1 equity plan and to write up a resolution. It has been a very frustrating process, so I just want to know, are we tabling the discussion tonight or are we voting on it? Because I need to know how I'm moving forward with my team.
I do not recommend you table, Chairman.
Yeah,
Chairman Bass, I do not recommend you.
Thank you, Commissioner Love-Wade. I mean, I think from my perspective, I think a decision needs to be made on this tonight. I think that we've talked about this. We've had community Q&As. I think all of the commissioners are informed enough that they can make a decision on this one way or the other. With regards to the be it resolved that Commissioner Wade has concerns with, if other commissioners and Ms. High, you're welcome to offer up a solution here as well. If there is alternative language that we can all agree on, that would be great too. But while that's in the back of our minds, I would like to know, other than that paragraph, is there anything else that is of concern or that people would like to get deeper in the weeds on? I'm hearing crickets.
Okay, so I'm sorry. Go ahead,
No,
Mr. Zach.
Yeah.
I had a question for Ms. High as president of the resident council. Could you please describe the votes that your resident council has taken on the equity plan and what the outcomes of those were to show what the level of support was for the plan?
The development of the plan came because I asked my residents what did they want out of this redevelopment. And when I presented options to them, whether they wanted to rent, whether they wanted to own by purchasing a home, or whether they wanted to own by purchasing in an LEC, a limited equity co-op, we voted on it. I sent that voting information and a letter to HUD, to Jane Hornstein, certified maid, availing ourselves to be able to redevelop on our property, because we had up to 31 residents that said that they want to own at Park Morton and remain at Park Morton. And seeing as how the redevelopment was not moving forward, I came up with the Park Morton equity plan to start the redevelopment at the footprint. We could have torn down the 630 and 640 buildings and built them into smaller co-ops instead of doing the big, large, multi-family building that the redevelopment team actually wanted to do. I was trying to present an alternative way to move this redevelopment forward while putting the residents first. Does that answer your question? You need more?
No, thank you.
Okay, are there any other questions? And similarly, are there any other attendees who have a question as well? If you do, raise your hand or hit *9 if you're on the phone.
Commissioner Bass, it's Commissioner Goldschmidt. If I could ask Commissioner Love-Wade, and I'm afraid I'm opening up a can of worms, but I'm genuinely curious, what is it exactly about the plan that she objects to? Because if a vote on the resolution is a vote on the plan, perhaps we should be talking about the plan.
Okay, so that plan is a really long document. and it has things that they want. They have things that have been denied. They have things that are not within our purview. They have made demands of things that cannot happen, and they knew it would not happen. It's just a wish list. It's not a plan. If it were a well thought out plan, I would be supportive of it. It's a well thought out wish list. Like they said, it's an aspirational document. It's not a plan. Aspiration is not a plan. An aspiration is a better word for a dream. And I'm not trying to be mean, but it would take me or maybe 30 minutes to go through that document and pull all the things out. Now I'm having a hard enough time switching back between my phone, my agenda, and the document that we're reading right now. And so for me to be able to pull up the Park Morton plan and go to that and go through that lengthy document, all people who have read that thing know that there are a number of things in that document that are not legally within our purview to even discuss. Other things that they're talking about, for example, Ms. Hyde said herself, this is a recent addition to a project that has been worked on for decades and for one that has been actually approved since 2016. Now, these Johnny-come-lately plans does not benefit the residents of Park Morton, who have been waiting for years to have the opportunity to move back into a decent Park Morton community. So this is something brand new. This is not a part of what has been discussed over the years. Everything that the residents had asked, well, not everything, but many of the things that the residents had asked for were a part of the plan. We wouldn't be having this discussion right now if it hadn't been for the court case for Bruce Monroe, and they felt that this would be a prime opportunity for them to exert leverage because things had changed. Well, things have not changed to the point that the truth changes. So if Dom has the document in front of him, if he wants to pull it up and let the audience review it, the commissioners to look at it to see what's in that plan that they can and cannot support. Many people who supported that plan have no knowledge of what the ANC can and cannot do, what our authorities are, and the great weight that our resolutions carry. So I'm not going to waste and risk my great weight on a document that I don't support. I don't put any weight behind it.
Well, let me ask.
Their plans are great, but they don't have to be the ANC's plan, and that's my position. We're supporting a plan that helps the residents of our commission and not a particular association.
Go ahead, Commissioner Miller. I think you had your hand up.
Sorry, I just want to point out that throughout the resolution, through our whereases, we identify the specific goals and the specific objectives, and we identify the Park Morton equity plan. Through that, it's already coursing through the resolution. So this is really just consolidating and putting it as sort of a be it recognized that we've already identified through our whereases the Park Morton equity plan, and not the details, not the nuances, not the facts, but the aspirations, the goals, and the objectives. So I mean, that's all. Yeah, that's why I thought it was sort of a nice summation of what Commissioner Ray and what the document already presented.
Well, and I'm just wondering, and it may not be a recommendation that anyone would accept, but I'm just wondering if it said ANC 1A supports the aspirational goals and objectives and left the rest of it the same. I don't know if I don't know how that impacts the document. It might weaken it, it might not, I don't know. But I'm wondering if that addresses the concerns, because I think that based on all of our meetings and the Q&A and everything, I think the top level goals have been things we all recognize would be wonderful if achievable. And so how do we thread that needle to lift up opportunities?
Well, I'm not voting on a wish list. I think voting on a wish list is not productive. It's a wish list. It's not. I think we were clear in saying we support the goals and objectives of the residents of Park Morton without having to support a document. We can support the residents without supporting their written document. I think that's unfair, and I really am getting a little irritated because I'm remembering that those horrible emails that were sent to Commissioner Goldschmidt today and some of the rest of us about threatening us and threatening to sue us if we don't vote your way. I don't like any of that. But that isn't what colored my decision. My decision was formed when I read the document. And I hang my hat on that is not a document that our advisory neighborhood commission should be putting in a resolution that we support. So, period. And you can do what you want to. That's my position. And I move that we close discussion and take a vote. My recommendation, my motion is that we approve the resolution as with the amendment to the section that says we will support, to remove that one whereas. That's my motion.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second it.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Further discussion on that?
So let me say, and again, I feel horrible that this is where we are at the moment. I did not, Commissioner Wade and I went back and forth with this afternoon. The document was not attached, so I did not see that this particular concern was here. If I had known, I would not have put forward the document probably with that language, because again, this was always meant to be a consensus document that we could all agree that the language was language that we could all vote in favor of. So I would recommend that everyone vote in favor as it has been moved, because it will still leave us with a document on the things that we support, on the things that we will work for, on those things that we will strive to help the residents achieve. It doesn't take anything away from anything. It simply stays silent on what otherwise is a contentious issue. So I recommend that we vote for it. Thank you.
Okay, so it's been moved and seconded.
Can I ask a procedural question, Chair?
Absolutely.
Thanks. If this does not pass, can we then vote on the original?
As long as there's a motion.
Yeah.
Yes, we can take it back up again if this does not pass.
And can I'm sorry because I'm on the phone, but can someone please just concisely repeat what the amendment is?
Thank you.
Sure. The motion that's been made is to accept the resolution as introduced with the omission of the first be it resolved, which is be it resolved, ANC1A supports the goals and objectives of the Park Morton Equity Plan. Whenever possible, ANC1A encourages the district government to support the residents of Park Morton in achieving these goals and objectives.
Can I also point out that the attachment that everybody is referring to has been removed. That's not, and I think I thought that was part of what was sent out. So that's not attached anymore.
Right. This language isn't referencing an attached document.
Right, but other people are referencing an attachment that my understanding was it was by agreement removed.
Yeah.
Chairman, is it possible, and maybe Commissioner Wade, I know we discussed perhaps removing just the first sentence, the first ANC1A through the first sentence, and keeping the support for the residents. Is it possible?
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think that's
my recommendation.
Yeah, keep the concept that we're supporting the residents and their goals, but we remove the wording specific to the Park Morton Equity Plan.
Okay, so just to confirm, Commissioner Love Wade, your motion is to only remove the goals and objectives of the Park Morton Equity Plan. Oh, your
Yes.
motion is only to remove that language.
Yes.
Okay,
Exactly.
so I just want to make sure that we know what we're voting on. It's like, so it's be it resolved, ANC 1A supports the residents of Park Morton. Whenever possible, ANC 1A encourages the district government to support the residents of Park Morton in achieving their goals and objectives.
Absolutely.
Okay. So, okay, so Commissioner Love-Wade has made a motion. It has been seconded. The amended language as proposed, just to repeat it one more time, is the first, be it resolved, ANC 1A supports the residents of Park Morton. Wherever possible, ANC 1A encourages the district government to support the residents of Park Morton in achieving their goals and objectives.
Yes.
All right. Moved and seconded. I have a feeling that we should not do this by voice vote. If
roll call.
Yeah, I think we're going to need a roll call vote.
So I move to take a roll call vote. One second, everyone.
I don't think you need to take a motion. I think you just need to take the roll call vote.
Thank you. Apologies. Okay. Commissioner Bonneau.
Against.
Commissioner Edmondson.
Oppose.
Commissioner Robarczyk. Yes. Commissioner Goldschmidt.
No.
Commissioner Miller.
No. Sorry.
Commissioner Castillon, not present. Commissioner Bass.
No.
Commissioner Ray.
Yes.
Commissioner Brown.
Yes.
Commissioner Love-Wade.
Yes.
Commissioner Clock.
Yes.
It's a tie.
Yeah.
We have 5-5.
5-5, so it doesn't carry.
Okay, so I guess then the next motion is to accept it without the change in that language. I'll make that motion. I move that we adopt the resolution with only those changes that we've discussed and all approve, but leaving out this one about the Park Morton Equity Plan specifically.
Wait, I'm sorry.
So
yeah, go ahead.
Can you repeat that, please?
I know it was long. I'll just say I move that we approve the document as written, except to fix some of the typos that were pointed out earlier.
A second.
Okay, we're going to have to do it by roll call vote again.
Yes.
Wait, sorry. Can I clarify? Are we supporting the original document?
I'll clarify. We're supporting the original document with the clerical edits, which are in the next further be it resolved, the at locations of their choosing, which is stricken, has to be cleaned up. And at the end, it needs to be October 14th instead of October 13th. Those are the clerical.
This includes the unedited be it resolved.
Correct.
With the goals and the objectives of the Park Morton Equity Plan.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
That is intact.
Thank you.
So we start again. Commissioner Bonneau.
In favor.
In favor. Commissioner Edmondson.
Yay.
Commissioner Robarczyk. Abstain. Commissioner Goldschmidt.
Aye.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Bass,
I'll abstain.
Commissioner Ray,
Yes.
Commissioner Brown,
Abstention.
Commissioner Love Wade,
No.
Commissioner Clock.
Yay.
So that leaves us with 6 yay, 1 no, and 3 abstentions. The motion passes.
Which would be 610.
Yes, sorry.
So. Okay,
How's it 610?
because there were 3 abstentions and those don't,
They
I
don't
guess-
count.
yeah.
You have to put abstention.
Well, yeah, I guess that is 613.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you, everybody. I know that a lot of work went into this. I thank you, Commissioner Love Wade, for diligently outlining. I agree with you on the concerns of the
Yes.
of the document.
Yes, well, I just want to say, reap what you sow, and I guarantee you, with certain people on that committee, you will rue the day that you agreed to this document, because they're going to use it to hold your feet to the fire. I'm very sorry about this. It's a sad day for our community when you allow community people to badger you and threaten you through court cases and all sorts of name calling, and you reward them with this type of resolution. It just sickens me, and I just want to go on the record as being made ashamed of my commission today on this vote that they just took that will have a deleterious effect. No other government agency accepted that document because of what it is and what it represents. And it's a last-ditch effort for personal gain from a few people in that development. And I've said it, and I'm standing by it. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Moving on to the second item on the agenda is the grant request for Project Give Back. Commissioner Love Wade and/or Miller, if you'd like to introduce that.
Commissioner Miller, Mr. Miller.
Is Mr. Miller, is he in the attendees?
Ms. Singleton, Ms. Singleton.
They're all the Dotties.
Okay. Well, in their absence, I present on their behalf.
I think they're here, but they're all under your name for some reason.
Oh, okay. Oh, because you gave me that number, and that's the one they used.
We've brought them up.
Okay.
I think.
And just make sure.
Good evening.
Hi.
Good evening, disembodied voice.
Yes. How are you?
We're doing fine.
Good, good. It's good to be here. Thank you for having me, Commissioner Dotti Love Wade and Commissioner Bowles. We appreciate the opportunity to present here today. We are preparing for the 26th annual Thanksgiving food distribution. We're planning to distribute 2,500 food baskets around DC, Maryland area. We are as a part of our efforts to remain safe, both for our volunteers and our constituents that we serve, we have walked away from the normal big bang that we do, where we pull 600 or 700 volunteers together and assemble baskets and distribute them. So as opposed to having that, we have a plan to have 6 different distributions with a max of 50 people to stay in line with the requirements of district government and other health agencies to make sure that we are properly socially distanced and that we don't have large crowds doing this work. We actually considered not doing this work because of the COVID situation, but we do understand that the need is even greater with regard to people who find themselves in a position of need. So we are going to proceed with it. One of our key distribution sites will be the Columbia Heights Educational Campus, where we will distribute, right now the number is 310 food baskets from that area. We're trying to keep the numbers low, so because we're dealing with a max of 50 volunteers, so we don't want to burn those folks out. So we're trying to use that number there for that immediate community. So in that number is constituents from La Clinica de Pueblo, who's one of our partners that we've been working with for several years, and students' families from Columbia Heights Educational Campus, and other people in the immediate community. So that we're very excited about that because we have formally used that as our main site. We will be planning to do all of our activities outdoors. Like I said, we are not really promoting the volunteer opportunities as we usually do because we want to be targeted and we want to make sure that we have just the right amount of volunteers to do what we need to do. So the grant request that we're asking for will help us with the non-food items, specifically the boxes that we have to purchase. The boxes are fairly expensive, but they're important because the size of our boxes, the food that go in our boxes, we have to get the sturdy boxes. So we purchased the large moving boxes. We scour to try to find the best price, but they are expensive. There are other non-food items expenses that we have. We submitted as a part of the documentation the budget for this year. We are struggling this year based on the turkey prices. Not just the prices are double what they were last year, but we're also struggling to identify a vendor that can find 2,500 turkeys for us. So we have found the Costco will be able to fill the order, but it's double the price. So we are still seeking donations from that end, and we have some sponsors that have committed to do more than they usually do, but we've also had some sponsors that have said we're unable to support this year. So we respectfully submit the grant request. But I believe the amount is $3,000 that will take a significant chunk out of the cost of the boxes that we use. I'd like to entertain any questions, comments that you have.
I don't really have any comments myself other than to thank you for this work year after year after year. As Commissioner Lovewood and Commissioner Robarczyk will tell you, I had the pleasure of volunteering last year, and your boxes are awesome and heavy. And the first time I bent down, I blew out the back of my pants. So if it weren't for a shirt with long coattails, I would have been embarrassed.
Well, Commissioner, we sure wish we'd caught that on film. That would have made the A-roll.
Specifically, you didn't catch it on film.
But yeah, we definitely enjoyed having you out and other commissioners out. Past commissioners came out as well. So we really appreciate the partnership. And we also appreciate the partners in the community that we work with. Mr. Molina and Mr. Best at Czech, as well as Luz and her team over at La Clinica de Pueblo, and making sure that we get the food to the people in that immediate area. That's something they're able to reach people we don't know. So that's a blessing to be in partnership with those folks.
Well, I'm excited that we found a local solution to help put boxes together in our community, because I know that many of the boxes do end up in our community with families. One thing that maybe you could share, and I know that there's always need that exceeds the opportunity, but how, for those who may know of a family that could benefit from this, is there a way? I mean, how do you get the list of names of households where you make the deliveries?
We get the names from there are several places at this point, partnerships that we've had, some churches, some community organizations, but in sometimes it's individuals like you that may know of a situation. And in this year, what we're seeing now, a lot more people are coming forward and saying, it's not somebody else, it's actually me. I'm the one who lost my job. I'm the one who had my hours cut. So we're entertaining those. We have set aside probably about 60 to 75 baskets for those type of inquiries. So now is the time. Wendy and team are finalizing the list. So if you have those suggestions, we try to make sure that we're not able to fill those requests from the general public. But if we have, one of our partners that we work with that say, hey, this is something that I have understanding about, this is a situation, we're able to try to accommodate. So to answer your question, I'm sorry for the long-winded answer. To answer your question, if you send myself or Wendy the name and address, we will work to contact them to figure out the best way to do it. Another thing is we're trying our best to limit the amount of actual deliveries that we do. So we're trying to encourage those who can to come pick up their baskets in an open air situation, as opposed to having our volunteers go into apartment buildings and homes to deliver. We probably won't be able to eliminate that totally, because we have some seniors, we have some people that we'll probably have to deliver to, but we want to minimize that as much as we possibly can.
Okay. So
can you
You can also notify me if you have names of people within our community.
Email address. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, this is wendy.projectgiveback@gmail.
Okay, so as for us, if we have constituents where there's need, or they know of someone where there's need, if our constituents reach out to their ANC commissioner here in 1A, we can work together to pass those contacts on to you.
Yes.
Yeah.
We do ask that you work expeditiously to get those to us. Wendy, what's our deadline?
Sorry.
The deadline.
Our deadline is like October 15th, but we can do it. We can do an adjusted deadline, because we got to get our counts and get the things, get the numbers allocated firm. But if you can get them to us, like at this point, November 1.
Sure. I won't forget that date.
Okay.
Half the people on this call know why.
Is that your birthday?
Oh, amen. So, okay, if we can get you names by November 1st, I think that gives us some wiggle room where we can reach out to the networks in our community and perhaps lift up some of the families that would benefit from this, because I strongly feel that, I know there's not a motion on the floor yet, but I strongly support this grant, and we have in the past, and I know it does good work. I know it is needed, and for those who have not experienced it, the boxes aren't just a Thanksgiving meal. There's a lot of food in that box, and there are several meals in that box. So this isn't a once and done. So it's actually a very generous gift. But I'm not gonna keep talking, because I'll do that all night myself. Are there any other questions for Mr. Miller or Commissioner Loveway? None? If you'd like to make a motion.
Yes, I'll make the motion to approve the grant or other payment options to Project Give Back in the amount of $3,000. The check will not be issued before November 1st.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? The ayes have it. Thank you again for giving us an easy issue.
Thank you for your time.
Oh, absolutely. Moving on to the next item on the agenda, the letter of support for the Bruce Monroe site extension. Commissioner Ray and/or Commissioner Brown.
Actually, let me just double check. Commissioner Brown, did you want to do this? It is your SMD.
You can talk about it, and then I'll chime in with my remarks.
No problem. The resolution, we distributed it earlier today, and I think I sent it about a week ago as well. It's pretty short and to the point. There is legislation in front of the council to extend the agreement that allows the development at the Bruce Monroe site regarding the Park Morton. It would, right now, the LDA, I believe, ends at the end or around the beginning of December. They've asked for an extension to 2025. So I am saying that we should be supportive of this. However, as we all know, the Zoning Commission is due to come out with how it's going to handle this case. And when they do, which is why you need the extension. I mean, quite frankly, we have to give the Zoning Commission an opportunity to figure out what it wants to do. So I did include this piece about making sure that all recognized parties get to weigh in on any changes that the Zoning Commission may offer. They may not offer any changes at all. They might try to move it forward as is. This does have 90 of the replacement units that are necessary for the Park Morton. So given that this would not have any direct impact on the current Park Morton residents, because this is down the street, I think that we should support this and get this off our books. Thank you.
And I would just like to add to Commissioner Ray's remarks in that, this commission has supported a resolution like this in the past, supporting the disposition agreement, LDA that moved through the council. And so we really love to have the commission support on this.
Thank you both. Are there questions from commissioners? Seeing none. Are there any members of the community that have something they'd like to say relevant to this issue? I'm not seeing any hands raised. So is there a motion?
I'll move that we adopt the motion as written.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion passes. Thank you all. Next is the BZA application 20322 for 503 Park Road. Commissioner Ray, could you tee that up for us?
Sure. 503 Park Road. We should probably bring up Marty Sullivan if he is with us. I'm not sure, to be honest.
He is.
And Mr. Michael R. Cross. In fact, if you can make Michael R. Cross a presenter, he may have the most recent plans that he could share. But to keep this as simple as I can, this is an existing existing single-family house that is it has its own lot next door. So the home has been the lot has been subdivided so that now 2 residences can operate or could be built on this one site. The one new building is not part of this application. It is being done by right, And then the building that we're talking about is where the existing building is that would be converted into 3 units. One of the areas of relief obviously is being able to build that 3rd unit. Then the other issue is parking. There is not a place for a parking space. However, this overall development is removing a driveway, which will then free up the parking that is now being taken up in front of this house. So we are actually replacing the parking. So in my mind, that is a mitigation for the lack of parking at the site. And so that was the reason I think that the committee was in support of this particular application. Mr. Cross, do you have the plans that you could share? Are you able to?
I do. I can pull those up now. If you could add Elizabeth Stewart to the line as well. She's the project designer.
Can do that.
Appreciate it. But I'm happy to pull up those plans here. I don't have screen sharing ability just yet.
He would have to become a co-host.
Is that something we can do?
Well, yeah, it is something that our staff can do. Dom should have that ability. Michael, do you want to try it again?
Sure. It looks like it's working now.
Good. Thank you, Dom.
Can you confirm that the screen's up now?
Not yet.
I do not see it.
Not yet.
Here it comes.
Good.
Great. Thank you. Is there anything in particular you would want to point out, Mr. Cross?
No, I don't know how much you want us to get into it. As you referenced, we have presented to the zoning group a couple times at this point, and we have made some revisions to accommodate their requests. Largely, those revisions are aesthetically trying to keep the buildings within the character of the original building, and adding a connection to the rear. I will mention that the latest set since we spoke has addressed one of the last outstanding concerns about the blank facade that faces west. We've added 2 windows that are faux bricked in windows because they are along the property line, but do emulate the original windows found on the building located there today.
Thank you. That is a concern because that whole sidewall will be visible by the neighbor. So trying to break that up a little bit, and it looks like you've done it in brick now too. That's a change.
Possibly so. I think that change was committed to maybe 1 or 2 phases back. The client is committed to wrapping the brick around the corner on that.
That's good. I think the original that we had seen was in a hardy board, and that can be not as good. But thank you.
Of course.
Any questions from other commissioners?
I'd just like to say I reviewed the blueprint, so even though I'm not seeing what's there, I am familiar with the property, and we did discuss it in our zoning meeting.
Yeah, I'm considering the parking concern. I am agreeable to the curb cut being removed. Just a quick question on that. Clearly, you'll remove the driveway. It's on your property. The curb cut, are you going to undertake the effort to get rid of the curb cut, or is there an expectation that some mythical date in the future, DDOT will just magically take care of it in some future public program?
I don't I don't know if I can say confidently on behalf of our client, but I do know that it is their intention to eliminate that driveway, and therefore I'm sure we will work with DDOT to see how we can get the curb cut removed.
Yeah,
Yes,
and
that would be your responsibility to work with them because you are not allowed to do it, period.
Yeah. Well, and the reason I bring it up and whatever you can do to nudge DDOT along would be agreeable, because I've seen a number of driveways go away in the last 10 years where the curb cut remains, even though the sidewalk, or even the sidewalk still is accommodating a curb cut that goes right into a fence on the property line. And it's perceived at this stage when we're looking at the plans that that's regaining a parking space, but until DDOT addresses it with the signage and the curb cut, sometimes we don't get that parking space. And so anything we can do to ensure that that is a parking space returned to public space is, I mean, that's what we'd like, because that's what we're expecting.
Understood.
And I can write something into the report about that, of course.
I'd appreciate it.
Okay. If there are no other questions, I'm happy to make a motion.
If I may, 1 second, Commissioner Ray.
Sure.
I understand, well, generally understand why windows are filled in, right? Because something else changes inside the configuration, but is there a reason to purposely put faux windows in? Why not put in real windows, and then with the understanding that in the future they might have to be filled in if development happens next door? I just don't see the real appeal of filling it in when it doesn't need new construction.
Sure. The windows being proposed are located directly on the property line. That wall is required to have a 1-hour fire rating, and those windows under the unamended building code are not permitted. In DC, they do have an amendment, or did, I haven't checked the most recent code, that would allow us to put them in at risk, but it would require a covenant be transferred with the property. And we felt it best just to maintain the required 1-hour rating by having them inserted as faux windows.
Thank you very much.
If you could stop sharing, I guess, so that just to make sure I can see everyone. Were there any other questions? Commissioner Bass, are you speaking? Because it looked like you're speaking.
Yeah, I was speaking. I was saying I'm also looking at attendees to see if there's anyone who's raised their hand wanting to speak relevant to this case as well. And I'm not seeing it. So if there's, are there other questions from commissioners, or is there a motion?
I will. Oh, go ahead. Sorry, Dotti.
Yes, I move that we approve the BZA application.
I will second that. I so rarely get to second things. Say moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The ayes have it. Thank you so much. Moving on to BZA case 2316 at 3578 13th Street Northwest.
Again, let's bring up Marty Sullivan, and
He's still there.
Okay. Marty, is Mr. Jacobson on? Jacobs?
Yeah, I think he was planning on being on.
Is he SBJAC 705?
If you are, raise your hand. Start using the. There you go. Could you raise him up too, please? Okay. And on this one, Dom, you have the plans, so if you want to share them at some point, that would be fine. But I'll walk us through that. This is adding a garage to an alley, and it will have a dwelling unit upstairs, which is a very I think a very interesting project. Marty, if you could remind me again what the areas of relief that are necessary for this.
Sure. The first area of relief is a special exception for the alley center line setback. We're required to be set back 12 feet from the center line of the alley, and it's only 8 feet. Actually, under the new regulations that have just been proposed, it'll be a while before they'll be effective. Accessory buildings, they're going to reduce this requirement from 12 feet down to 7.5 feet. So we would comply under the new regs if they pass. So that's one area of relief. The other one is an accessory building in a required rear yard, because we're not more than 20 feet away from the rear line of the building. We need relief from that. And then just a special exception to build or enlarge an accessory dwelling for the purpose of residential habitation. So that's a new regulation that came about in 2016 regs. It said you can't inhabit for residential purposes as a dwelling unit a accessory building, only an existing accessory building, not a new one or a one that's been added to. So, and that's a special exception as well.
Are there any questions of commissioners?
Whose SMD is this in?
Matt Goldschmidt.
It's mine. It's mine, Kent.
Okay, and what's your opinion of this, Commissioner?
I think everyone's happy with it. I think all the neighbors support both on either side and across the alley, and I think it's a good project.
Okay. Are there any other questions from commissioners? Are there questions from members of the community? I'm checking for raised hands. Don't see any. Is there a motion?
I'll move that we approve the requested relief.
Second. Here we go. Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? The ayes have it. Marty, you've had a good night.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Good to see you all.
Good
Take
to see
care.
you.
Really had a good night with me, Marty.
Yeah, right?
Thanks, Dotti.
Moving on to next item, resolution supporting DC's enforcement of prohibiting hair discrimination. Commissioners Brown, Edmondson, and Love Wade. I think Commissioner Brown, you are the lead, so I'll let you introduce.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So commissioners, this is a resolution supporting the DC's enforcement of race-based hair discrimination and the Creating a Respectful and Open World for Natural Hair Act, also known as the Crown Act, which works to ensure protection on discrimination regarding race-based hairstyles such as locks, braids, bantu knots, or other protective hairstyles, for example. So to give some context on the issue, race-based hair discrimination is a mechanism for how a person can be discriminated against. Clearly, if you're a person of color and wear your hair in a natural hair texture or style, and African Americans are disproportionately affected and barred from educational and employment opportunities because of this type of discrimination, unfortunately. So the research shows that Black women are almost 1.5 times more likely to be sent home from work because of their hair, labeling it as unprofessional. And I can speak for myself that I too have had these types of fears because it happens far too often. So unfortunately, these practices are tied to our nation's power structure, is systemic and structural racism. It involves implicit bias, it's a human rights, and it's tied to white supremacy, and it must stop. And I think that we as a commission can do something about this to address it, especially when we represent some of the city's most racially diverse neighborhoods. So this resolution, one, it calls out the issue. It supports the Crown Act more broadly, and it also supports enforcing protections on hair discrimination based on racial characteristics. And now there's legislation currently moving through the council on this, and there also is an upcoming hearing, I believe on October the 27th. I'm sorry. So I hope that the commission will support this resolution before you tonight.
Thank you, Commissioner Brown. Are there any commissioners who have something to have a question or have something they'd like to have addressed? I'm not seeing any. I actually have one thing. I think I sent it in an email to others, but I'm not so sure. It's been a busy day. I'm not so sure I saw a response. My biggest concern is not the bill itself per se, but the reference to the Office of Human Rights. When we were working to get the LGBTQ seniors and seniors with HIV bill moved forward, the only thing that was flagged as a concern is, once again, the Office of Human Rights is listed as the enforcement agency. They are underfunded, they are understaffed, they just don't have the capacity to enforce this. I would propose, if agreeable, that we add another whereas that says that we would like stronger support for the Office of Human Rights so that they can actually do this work and provide the mechanism for processing complaints and redress as their mandate. Because even with the LGBTQ seniors, it was offensive to me personally that the council moved that bill forward recently, but decoupled it from the support for OHR because there's no money in the budget to do that. And so I don't know how putting protections on paper actually achieve results if we don't have a functioning OHR. So this isn't really about the Crown Act or what it hopes to achieve and the discrimination it's addressing. It's more about us putting the right resources in to actually achieve those results. So if others would, if Commissioner Brown, specifically since it's your resolution, if you would be agreeable to putting in a whereas to address that, and I'm not married to any particular language. I just think it's an opportunity to call out that the city needs to put its money where its priorities are. And I think this is yet one more case where we can do that.
I agree.
I can definitely include a whereas in a provision on stronger supports for the office because, one of its primary functions, and it says it on their website, is to identify investigative practices and policies on that may be discriminatory and a process for enforcing human rights issues. So, if they need the support for it, and especially with the environment that we're dealing with today, we need support behind human rights enforcements and protections of the law. So
yeah, I agree. I think their importance is only increasing, and I think anything we can do to amplify their need for support. It's very easy to get behind good legislation. It's not always easy to be a champion for what some perceive to be as bureaucracy. So, sometimes the most important work isn't the sexy work that's out there on the news. So I would appreciate that. Are there any other comments or questions?
I do just want to comment on your point, Commissioner Bass. I know that during the budget season, there was a lot of advocacy for exactly the reasons that you identified. And I know that I submitted testimony and I appreciate the commissioners who signed on and supported that. And I hope that as we move through this year, and once we get into the budget season, that we can also highlight this as, again, one of the reasons that we need to create and maintain and push for the funding for OHR to support and provide the funding necessary to enforce these efforts.
Yep. Thank you, Commissioner Miller. Are there any other comments or questions? Scrolling through the attendees, I don't see a raised hand. So is there a motion?
And Commissioner, before I present the motion, I'd like to thank Commissioners Edmondson and Love Wade, who supported this resolution with me as co-signers. So I move to approve DC's enforcement of race-based hair discrimination resolution.
I second.
Moved, seconded, and thirded. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? The ayes have it. Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Moving on to letter requesting 1125 Spring Road Hebrew Home Traffic Plan, Commissioner Goldschmidt.
Yes. I'm sorry. This is just a letter to DDOT asking them to pick up where we left off in January. We had scheduled a site visit for the area roughly between, I guess, 13th Street on one end and Georgia Avenue on the other along Spring Road. Residents are just concerned about what's going to happen with traffic when the Spring Flats project is finished. The Raymond Elementary there causes a lot of issues for people twice a day during the school year. A site visit obviously won't be able to recreate what typically happens at Raymond since the school's not open. But we just don't want DDOT to drop the ball. I had meant to put this on the consent agenda. It's a pretty simple letter, and I'll answer any questions if anyone has any.
Thank you, Commissioner Goldschmidt. Are there any questions from commissioners?
Apologies, Commissioner Goldschmidt. The version of the agenda I had it on.
No, I mean, it was a last minute thing. It's totally my fault. So apologies to the commission for having to vote on such a simple letter.
No,
so I'll move to adopt the letter if no one has any comments.
Okay.
I support Commissioner Goldschmidt. That task is not easy working with the Hebrew homes. It's almost as problematic as Park Norton.
Yeah, it is. I appreciate you staying on this, Commissioner Goldschmidt. I know that the neighbors are very concerned with traffic. I also know that I appreciate efforts to not let DDOT drop the ball, which they do more often than they should. So having it moved and seconded, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? The ayes have it. Thank you, Commissioner. Next is approval of commissioners to testify before the council regarding ANC 1A comprehensive plan comments. I do not have anything drafted, but I think we do need to have a conversation. The comprehensive plan hearings before the council are before us. I think that they will be before us before, we would need to sign up before the November meeting and perhaps have opportunities to testify before then too. I'm not quite certain on that. But I think that we put in a lot of work on the comprehensive plan in submitting recommendations to the Office of Planning. So what I would like to propose is first to have us have a conversation of who's interested in testifying, or at least introduce a motion that commissioners, as we choose, can sign up to testify in accordance with the recommendations we have previously adopted. And I'm going to open that up for conversation because I'm not sure how others want to address it. I just think that with all the work we put into it, not showing up at the council would, it's almost not an option. I think we should follow up that opportunity to continue the conversations.
Chairman, I agree. I think we should at least highlight some of our, during a testimony, highlight some of the key issues that we have with the plan. So thank you.
So I guess with that, I'll ask an open-ended question. Are there commissioners interested in testifying? And specifically, are there sections within our recommendations that you would like to testify on? I think it could be very powerful and we could cover a lot of ground if multiple commissioners signed up to testify and we did it in series, because we don't have to repeat each other, we can build on each other. So I'll leave it at that to see where the interest is and the time is, and based on that, we can entertain a motion.
Commissioner Bass, I have a question. When is the hearing again?
I honestly, it's in November, but I don't have the date in front of me. Commissioner Ray, perhaps you can find it while we're having this conversation.
Yes. Could I also suggest that for any hearings that are not attended in person, we also give approval to submit our written testimony again?
Yes. I mean, I think an easy one is we could easily submit all of our documentation to the council to be submitted as testimony.
Mm-hmm.
So while we're looking up the date, why don't I just do that part? Let's break this out into two parts. And the first one is simply to submit our previously approved recommendations that went to the Office of Planning also to the council.
Okay. The dates, Ken, are the 12th and the 13th.
Yeah, she's got it. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Commissioner Edmondson.
You're welcome.
Commissioner Bass, I do want to ask, because I know that we had our submissions, and then once we saw the product, there were some issues, as we've talked about. Would that be included in that?
I think we could entertain, for instance, if based on our recommendations, if there are areas where our recommendations were silent or things that are not incompatible with our recommendations that we've noticed since, I think this would also be the right time to bring them up. So for instance, I know that for you, in a specific issue may be the call the jug handle around Sacred Heart Church.
Could be.
But I don't, we may have addressed something with traffic in a much more broad way, but I don't know if we were that granular.
We also, right, and to that point, we didn't know that they were ignoring it until they gave us the final.
Well, and correct, and I think that is why, in part, I'm bringing up now, is we made recommendations based on the existing comp plan. Following those recommendations, the Office of Planning made changes to the document that then got submitted to the council. So there may be recommendations of ours that did not get adopted that we feel strongly about. There may also be areas where we made recommendations which our recommendations weren't adopted, but the changes are also incompatible with what we were hoping to achieve, and therefore we would want to testify on that issue. So we may need to spend more time digging into this and probably helping each other with some of that testimony. But I just want to make sure, because I know the first thing Chairman Mendelson will ask when you're testifying is, are you testifying on behalf of yourself or the ANC? And so we need to, we at least need to consider a motion to make sure that our testimony is official.
Just to add on to that specific point, because I did do some research on Commissioner Miller's behalf, we did pass a resolution last year specific to the traffic issues there at the jug handle, which have a direct bearing on a section that is in the comp plan. So I think we are, if by simply having a resolution that says that Commissioner Miller can testify about that, it's already in place, it's written, she can use it as it is.
Thank you. I was sort of hoping that would be the case.
Yeah, But I would still say if that's, if you would like to testify on that issue, clearly if we've already passed the resolution on that, you don't need to do it again, but I would definitely sign up and testify about that at this time.
Okay, but getting the permission now and
Yeah, if we've already passed the resolution specifically on it, that resolution stands until we take up a resolution that contradicts it or changes it or edits it. And since we haven't done that, it still stands. It's still good.
Thank you.
So I'm certainly willing to put my name down as well. So there's, I think, at least 4 of us.
Okay. So just so I can take notes, Miller, Commissioner Miller on the jug handle. Ray, I'm willing to testify on some of it, but I'm also willing to work with others to coordinate. Who else was interested in testifying?
I am too.
Commissioner Clock. Are there any other commissioners that would like to testify on a portion of it?
Ken, put me down for housing.
Okay.
Thanks.
I'd like to testify, although I'm not quite sure. I weighed in on a few sections of the comprehensive plan. So at this time, I don't have a suggestion on which section.
That's fine. Right now, I think what I would like to get out of tonight is saying that ANC 1A I'm going to suggest what the resolution will be right now, and that would be that ANC 1A authorizes Commissioners Miller, Ray, Bass, Clock, Edmondson, and Brown to testify on behalf of the Commission on sections of the comprehensive plan based on our previous recommendations to the Office of Planning. And then we can work with each other to decide how we want to divvy that up, because it is just such a volume of work.
I second it.
Okay. Well, since I made a motion and it's been seconded, let's discuss this to make sure everyone's okay with that suggestion.
So, Chairman, I would suggest that you maybe email for us so they're all in order, maybe in presentation mode.
Okay. I could do that as well. Okay. So it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, the ayes have it. What I'll propose to do is I'll email all of you following this, and we can go back and forth in email to figure out what sections we want to work on or how we want to coordinate, and then I will submit all the names together so that we can testify in block, if that works for everybody.
Yep, sounds good to me.
Okay, moving on. Oh, go ahead.
Commissioner Miller, I assume I'm more than happy to work with you to also incorporate other transportation related points in your testimony.
I would agree. Thank you.
Thanks.
And if Commissioner Bass would write my testimony even better.
Sure, why not? Penance. So let's go to the next item on the agenda, which is letter to WMATA regarding the Metro COVID-19 FY21 budget amendments. Commissioner Love-Wade, do you want to tell us what Metro's already done to us?
Well, yes, they're attempting now to cut the H buses. Those are the buses that go cross town to the hospital center, MedStar, to the rehab, and all to the Veterans Hospital, as well as Children's Hospital. And those buses transport our essential workers as well as the patients and their families. Why in the world would they cut such a vital leg of the transportation for our most needed constituents in one of the heaviest traveled corridors?
Thank you, Commissioner. I concur that I recognize that the H buses don't have the volume of the Georgia Avenue, 14th Street, and 16th Avenue, street buses, but I'm also deeply concerned that the one thing that's been critically identified as a problem in the city is east-west connection, which is what the H buses do.
Right.
I don't get it. I know one bus goes past my house, the H8, the H4, and I believe is it 4 and 6? They connect the metro stations with the Washington hospital centers. And the one thing that comes to my mind when I think about this is the people riding those buses today are people that even in a pandemic don't have the luxury of working at home. Like they are using those buses out of necessity. And it just seems that if the kind of, I mean, I don't want to make too broad of assumptions, but I'm assuming that some of the jobs they're going to are not your traditional 9-to-5 job. And when you reduce the service, you're really putting an extreme burden on the residents that are using that transportation. Like there are no other options to get east and west. So, I mean, I've been thinking a lot about that and how some of our neighbors who can least afford the reduced service are the ones that are getting impacted by it the most.
Right. These are the ones who cannot afford an Uber, who do not have cars, or if they have cars, are not mobile enough to drive it or afford to park on those lots when they get there. These are the workers who are the least paid, who depend on that transportation to get them to that work site. There's no parking there for those workers who could not afford to park on the lots there. I mean, it's just total inhumane. It's like WMATA has taken on the mantra of the hell with seniors and disabled. What they did on 14th Street to our seniors and disabled, and what they're proposing to do on the crosstown buses for our seniors and our disabled and our least able to afford, is just disgusting. And I think we need to go further than just this resolution. I think we need to start making our voices heard on this and work with the ADA to help us fight this fight. I think it's bigger than us. And I think WMATA has chosen not to hear us. WMATA and VDOT in concert are not listening to the most vulnerable population. And it's up to us to protect them.
I agree, Dotti. Not to mention the workers, the folks who go to their appointments at the hospital, you know? Those buses often, when I have taken them, are, filled with folks who, have mobile, what do you call it? Mobility issues and right.
Commissioner Rybarczyk or Commissioner Wade, do you know by chance the change in frequency that the H's will be? I mean, you may not, because I know they make it hard, but do we know the change in frequency? Like if I'm showing up at that stop, how frequently does a bus get there?
I don't. I can pull it up.
No, and again, I didn't mean to. It's just, I'll say, if it's anything more than 15 minutes, then that's not. It's really just not acceptable when you're talking about a corridor where people can't plan. They need to get to that location, and it's not something that you can, look at that bus schedule well in advance and know that it might be there at 5:15 and be there 15 minutes early. I mean, you really need that frequency to be at a sub 15-minute level to be very effective.
Yeah, because people have appointments, and if they miss their appointment, it's very deleterious to them. And if they get there too early, they have to sit and wait. And if they miss that bus back because their appointments run over, they have to sit there and wait. And I've seen them waiting for buses at that circle at both the Veterans and at the Washington Hospital Center. MedStar, I guess is what they call it now. Yeah. But it's inhumane. It's as if they don't care, out of sight, out of mind. And it doesn't affect them. And I guess they figured that the Metro ride and all of those bus services will pick up slack. But they're not. They're reducing their services too, because their funding has been set.
Yeah. All right. Is there, are there any additional questions or is there a motion?
Zach, you want to make the motion, or I can do it?
Sure. I move to support the letter to WMATA on its FY21 budget.
I second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? The ayes have it. Last item on the agenda is an update to the ANC 1A Standard Operating Procedures, Section 2, Administrative Procedures, Commissioner Abarczyk.
Yeah, so I know I sent this around to everyone, but this is just so we are in the good graces of Office of ANCs, following the requirements of the ANC Omnibus Act. This is just recognizing the different ways, especially during COVID, that we are notifying the community of our meetings and special meetings. At any time, of course, these ways we notify people will change. Once we're meeting in person, I hope that we could use the signs that Commissioner Clark and Miller worked hard to put together. But this is just a short list of things that we should have on the books as ways that we notify the community. And that includes our official social media profiles, our web page with the calendar that's attached, email newsletters, posts on the listservs, and other similar messaging lists. So that's all. And as Gottlieb had said from OANC, that having this in our SOP is an acceptable way of showing what the ANC counts as a approved manner.
Thank you, Commissioner. I appreciate this.
And one other thing, something else is during the meetings, I've added to the agenda the other version that's online right now, the updated version. In administrative matters, we have a, I just added something called a verification notice that just writes out how we notice the meeting to the community. That should be in our meeting minutes from here on out. So that's all. But
that's good.
So any questions?
Seems straightforward to me. Are there any other questions, or is there a motion?
I just want to say thank you to Commissioner Abarczyk for doing this and getting ahead of it for the future, and then happy to make a motion to vote to approve this update as listed.
Second.
Sure. So it's been moved by Commissioner Bonneau, seconded by Commissioner Love-Wade. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? The ayes have it. That brings us to the end of the meeting. Is there a motion to close the meeting?
Before we close, I do want to let everyone know that back when we approved our calendar, there's a scheduling conflict, obviously, with November 11th. So our next general meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, November 10th.
Oh.
Just so everyone realizes.
Okay. If only we had the 11th off.
And that'll be our
That's
final meeting in 2020.
Yes.
Yeah.
The 11th isn't really a holiday, though. It's a Wednesday, is it?
Yeah.
Do we still do that?
It's on the actual day.
I thought it was
Yeah, I
our
guess it
wedding
is.
anniversary. Sorry, Ted's telling me it's not.
I can never remember if it's on the Monday or if it's on the actual 11th, but I guess it is on the 11th, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll check the holiday calendar and get back to you guys at a later time.
I'm sure you will. Okay, so we're at the end of the meeting. Was there a motion to close the meeting?
Yes.
Okay, moved, seconded?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Good night.
Good night. So our meeting ends at 9:48 p.m. Thank you all for your attendance. And hopefully you have not been waiting for dinner.
It might be on the 10th, just so you know.
Okay.
Guys, thanks for all your hard work. You guys, did a great job on everything. So thanks.
Yeah.
Very well.
We get one more meeting with you, right?
You get
one more.
Okay.
One more meeting with Commissioner Edmondson, and then we will see the monthly updates from Teresa from District Bridges.
Exactly.
Oh, isn't that special?
Isn't that special? Can't get rid of it that fast. All right, guys. Everybody have a great evening.
Good night,
Okay,
everybody.
bye-bye.
Take care.
Good night.
Bye-bye.